This is John Monson with Rural Ruckus Radio and Podcast. I'm your host today, and we've got another special guest with us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about rural community economic development with a key organization and a sponsor, the Community Economic Development Associates. I have with me the King Kahuna, the big enchilada. We have Ron Ziegler with us today. Ron, welcome to Rural Ruckus Radio and Podcast. Glad to have you on finally.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun today because we get to talk about something we're both passionate about. And we get to talk a little bit about your team, and we get to talk a little bit about how you do business and why we're so passionate about the way that you go about what you do.
Great.
And have for years. So Ron, let's start off with you. Talk a little bit about yourself. How long have you been with CEDA, the Community Economic Development Associates, over these years? And tell us a little bit more about your role and responsibility.
Okay. Thanks, John.
You bet.
I started with CEDA 22 years ago. It's hard to believe, but it has been that long.
20 years old.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, now I'm in my mid-40s, right? I wish. Yeah. My roles and responsibilities have essentially been the same over those years, but we have a much larger team right now. Mm-hmm. When I started in 2004, whatever it was, 2003, we had a team of 6. I was actually the 6th person in the office. And now we're, mid-50s, somewhere in there. And our geographic territory has gone from 3 rural counties in southeast Minnesota to 3 states in the upper Midwest. So it's expanded, it's grown, it's great stuff going on.
Yeah. So the 3 states are Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota?
Correct.
Right? And so did you have just 3 contracts back then? So contracts, that's how you do business, right? You
Correct.
do business through contracts?
Correct.
Right. So you had them in 3 counties with how many communities in those counties?
I couldn't tell you the exact number, but we've always been pretty much self-sustaining. Mm-hmm. We aren't dependent upon the state or any foundation to provide us full funding. We do a fee-for-service contract setup, and back then the organization was formed around Winona, Fillmore, and Houston County, yep. And there was probably a handful of cities within those counties that we did work with.
Yeah, and so now, how many contracts now in 3 states?
We're probably in the mid-70s somewhere, I would guess.
That's pretty good growth
over
that many years. So you like to say you're growing pretty fast. One of the fastest growing nonprofits in the country.
I like to say that.
Yeah, I know you do. I've heard you say it a few times. But you should. You should be able to talk about your growth. It's been pretty exponential. And the number on your team, how many do you have on the team today?
We're at 55 right now.
55.
We keep adding people. And of course, life happens. So we lose a few people here and there as well. But I think we have our strongest team we've ever assembled right now. Mm-hmm. Our growth is due to them. They are the backbone of this organization. They are definitely the asset of this organization is the work that they do in these small communities. Yeah.
I think about the people, and a lot of companies do have a lot of turnover.
Correct.
But I think about this, and I have thought about this for a long time, having worked together with CEDA in my career and together with your team, I've thought a lot about this. The team may turn over, but they become ambassadors for CEDA and wherever they go. So there are many ambassadors all throughout rural communities across Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin now, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most proud things that I really feel good about is that we have the ability to bring in younger people a lot of times and empower them to do great things. Yeah. And we will never stand in their way to advance their career. And it was interesting. A few weeks ago, I was at the League of Minnesota Cities Conference. And there's actually 5 former CEDA team members that have moved on to bigger, better things, at least in their mind. Yeah. And we were able to have a conversation with every one of them. They still have their heart with CEDA and they still support CEDA. So it's a great thing and it's a good thing.
They're ambassadors.
Correct.
And they continue to be ambassadors. And I think that's really important. So hopefully over the course of these years, you'll continue to grow the team, you'll be able to grow your communities and so on. But you're seeing some pretty significant growth right now. What's happening? Why is this happening? What's the secret sauce of CEDA?
The secret sauce of CEDA is our team. And in rural America, these communities have a hard time getting professionals to come out and spend time in their communities. Yes, they can pay them an hourly rate to come out and do certain projects, but our bread and butter is to embed our team in these small communities. So we may have a contract for 1 day a week, 2 days a week, something like that, and our person is actually in the community for a number of hours that day or those days. And that creates a lot of communication, that creates a lot of drive for not only our team, but the community as well. And our team gets to know the community very well. They get to know the businesses within the community. And it just kind of continues with the success then.
You do something that's really interesting to me. So communities will contact you, and you do something called a first impressions report.
Correct.
Explain that and why that's important to that community, because I think they're awesome.
Yeah. The first impression reports is a vehicle that we utilize to not only sell our services, but to provide information to a community. So there are a lot of first impression reports that could be done that may not be utilized. We may not end up with a contract with that community, but they have the ability to take a look. And there's probably 10, 12, 15 different categories in these first impression reports. And it's exactly what it sounds like. We have one of our community team members go into this community, probably never been there before, and just put down their thoughts. And they do a little online search. They see what the presence is for online. They look at some housing statistics, labor statistics, and those types of things. And it's valuable information for these communities. And we provide that to the communities, whether we end up with a contract with them or not. But if it does end up where we have a contract, that's the basis of a work plan to move forward then.
Yeah, it's important that they are able to see and understand what the potential of their own community is through a different set of eyes, through an objective set of eyes. Ron, why don't you tell us a little bit about CEDA in terms of the efficiency, the affordability, and the accountability of your team? You have a lot of contracts out there, but it makes you pretty distinct, at least in the economic development world. Why? How are you able to do it the way that you do?
The way we do it is that we believe that we can be held accountable. So in our contracts, we have what we call as a 30-day out clause. So we have something that is not industry norm. It is something that is out of the ordinary. It holds us accountable. It holds me accountable. It holds our team accountable. And we are able to produce results. And if we don't produce results, we're out the door, which we should be. In the communities and counties that we're involved in, they see that as an asset so that they know they aren't tied into a long-term contract that they can't get out of. And as far as our efficiency within our organization, we have been a very well streamlined machine for a lot of years. We have done some expanding now with all of our team members. We've added some human resources. We've added some IT and those types of things, which we need to have. And as far as our the dollars that we charge, the investment that communities need is very much similar to what would be the same investment that they would have if they hired their own person. So we're very comparable to that. The main difference is that we know that people will always leave. There will always be people coming and going. If you are a city or a county that has a contracted employee such as ours with CEDA, we backfill that position. So there's no lag in work that's being done. If they hire a person direct, that person leaves. There could be 90, 120, 150 days before they get a new person in place. So we think that's a definite asset as well.
Well, it is. There's no doubt about that. And so, but you serve communities of all sizes, right? I mean, how small and how big do you go?
We go all the way from 175 people up to about 8,000 is the max that we've noticed that once we get over 8,000, most communities will just hire their own person. We do counties, rural counties that are larger than that of population. But I would guess our average community is probably around the 2,000, 2,500 population.
Wow. That's pretty good size. I mean, that's a perfect size for a rural community.
Correct.
So there must be a reason that at about 2,500 things really work best. Is there an attribute of that city or the characteristics of that city that make it work really well?
A lot of times it's that the community is willing to invest in themselves. When you get smaller populations, they have a harder time coming up with the dollars to invest in projects. If you're larger than that, they typically have money to do things. But we feel that our model with our incremental fractional staffing, we can put a contract together and have a person involved in that community 1, 2, 3 days a week, and they can make things happen. And it is something that you see prosperity. You see people believing in themselves, believing in their community, and that's the success that we keep breeding across the upper Midwest.
So what types of contracts will support these cities generally from CEDA? What types of different contracts? So comprehensive planning, strategic planning, economic development, community development, all the above, any above?
We have a lot of the above.
Yeah.
So our main focus is what we call our community support program. And that's fractional staffing, where we have a person go into a community and be responsible for their economic and community development. When I started in this 30 years ago, it was smokestack chasing. And you tried to get the business from the neighboring community to come over. That's all gone. Your competition now is the internet. Your competition is overseas. We try and breed a feeling that what's good in one community is going to be good in the next community as well. Yeah. So we don't have a lot of that inner fighting and stuff. But what we really like to see is the work that can happen in these communities with other things. Our community support program is our bread and butter, but we also have a division, a planning department that will do comprehensive plans, housing studies, organizational structure, strategic plans, and those things. And we are a firm believer that these communities need that type of information to be able to make informed decisions. It really is tough on small town council members that may have been on the council for a lot of years, or they may be new, but their comprehensive plan might be 20, 25 years old. Yeah. They need current information.
Yeah. So you've been going at this a long time. What are the priorities now that we see today in these communities?
Every community that you will ever talk to kind of comes around three things. One is housing, one is daycare, and one is workforce.
Yep.
And if I had a golden wand and could do anything I wanted to make those three things happen, there'd be no end in sight to what we could do. But everybody has their own thoughts, their own ideas. There are out-of-the-box thoughts going on to try and make things happen. Do we have a golden pill to take to make these things happen? Nope. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of investment. It's a lot of meetings to make sure that people are informed and knowledgeable.
Yeah. I recall working with you in Compeer, you had a long list of projects across all 55 contracts or whatever it was at the time. Right. And I recall it being something, $500 million worth of projects. I'm sure it varies from day to day, time to time. When you come into a community, you begin to create a list of projects that you can see for that community. Does it start with the first impression report, which is you can look like this, and then it builds into a project list? What happens? How do the results occur?
A lot of what happens is when we come into a community, we do the first impression report. We do a lot of one-on-one meetings with stakeholders, with elected officials, appointed officials, and we create a work plan. And from that work plan, we're able to utilize that as our Bible, so to speak, to do projects. And anything that can relate to those projects, we move forward with. So the results, some communities we walk into and the community will say, solve the daycare issue, or solve affordable housing, or solve workforce. Those things just don't happen overnight. But what we try and do is just, take it piece by piece and see what can happen. There are different communities, again, that do different thoughts. There's different priorities. Some communities will utilize dollars to try and make a daycare project go forward. And that has a huge impact on employers and the workforce.
Yeah. We have had some different folks come in and talk to us about how they provide economic development. So, for example, we had Prairie Land come in and talk about power and the importance of economic development. I mean, electricity touches everybody, everything. and how important that is. You really focus a lot more on is it sort of the capital deployment, or is it connecting dots? Ultimately, is it grant making? What is it that really is at the center point of all the economic and community development that you do?
I would say yes to everything you just said, but I think our main force is the ability to connect people. We are not the experts in every investment or every incentive program that's out there. We have a working knowledge of that, but we have the ability to bring people to a table and have a conversation and see if there's a way we can put a project together. And I think that's our goal, is to make things happen. And when you talk different incentives, tax increment financing, tax abatement, again, we aren't the experts on it, but we know who the experts are, and we can bring them in to provide incentives to business owners.
Yeah. So when you started off in the beginning, you had a subset of services from what you do offer today. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And do you continue to add more services as you go?
Yes.
So what are some of the more recent services you've added?
Our planning department is our biggest one. We have grown that now. We have a wonderful leader in Annie Nichols that is doing great things in that department. She's expanded it. She just does her thing and makes things happen. We also have a grants department that is phenomenal. We started out, our company's about 40 years old now. We're going to celebrate our 40th anniversary next year. And we started out as a grant writing, grant administration company. And we still do that today. And over these 40 years, we've probably brought in $100 million worth of grants to cities in the upper Midwest. And we have the ability to do research. Grant writing is a science, but a lot of the fun stuff, if you will, is the research that happens to see, if there's a foundation out there that is involved with that. We also have a program called the Rural Business Innovation Lab that is doing wonderful things. And that was, supported by Compeer. Thanks to you and the rest of the people at Compeer. And they are doing great things. We're in our either second or third cohort now. I think it's the second cohort that's finishing. And it's providing opportunities for businesses to grow. You know as well as anybody that businesses, when they start out, usually flounder in the first couple of years. They may make it, they may not. We are providing the framework, the backbone, the structure of all that back office stuff that they need to do. Most owners, they know what they want to do, but it's all this other stuff that drives them under. So that's a wonderful program. We also have another program called the Rural Community Support Program, where we have been funded by the state legislature. This is our second round. Minnesota, yes, correct. And we were able to provide 18 very small communities, under 3,000 in population, with 150 hours of our technical service, plus a $15,000 grant to start a program for them, such as the revolving loan fund or commercial rehab program or business retention expansion program. It's been wildly successful. And it was so successful that the legislature actually funded round 2 of it, and the governor signed the bill. So we are just coming out with applications here in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to that too.
Yeah. You guys have done an incredible job of growing. I mean, your programs, your services, everything that you've done. You're very mission driven, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mission first, no doubt about that. And that, we hear that from really everybody that comes through the door and does this show. It's about the mission. It's about the service. It's about how we make a difference and an impact. So anyways, and it has a lot to do with leadership, Ron. I've known you for a long time, and you run it efficiently, you run it affordably, you run it as economically affordable as possible, and with great accountability. And there's no doubt about it. And I think that's the differentiator, and always has been with CEDA. And I think that you guys are going to continue to grow because you have a model that others don't. And I know that in a job where I was able to look and work across the country in investment in rural America, there was nobody like CEDA, not like this, nowhere. So any community is able to access you. If nothing else, test you, see what happens, see what works, try any number of services that they need. So where there's a gap, there's an opportunity to solve it. And if you don't have something to solve it, you might be willing to evaluate a possible solution. So that's really unique. And I think that, again, a good reflection of you, Ron, I think your leadership, and now your leadership team as well. And you've really built that out, I think, in a real positive way. So anyways, thanks for coming in today. We're glad that you came on the show, and it's good to discuss sort of the next layer, another layer of how we serve rural communities, and that's what this show is really all about. It may not be kind of, the everyday, nuts and bolts about how to make macaroni and cheese, but it's darn close. As far as I'm concerned, it's something we both love, and so that's the good news. But anyways, that's what we love to talk about.
Well, I just thank you for your support over the years, John, and for Compeer's support. It's been, I don't know where we would be without John Monson, without Compeer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Ron. Anyways, this is John Monson with Rural Ruckus Radio and Podcast signing off. We'll see you next time.